Okay, Algebra 8, we are doing section 4-6, estimating square roots. So we just learned about how to find a square root, but we talked about how some numbers don't produce perfect roots. So what we're going to do is we are going to be able to estimate what perfect roots these are close to, so we can estimate what two numbers the answer would end up between. So each square root is between two consecutive integers. Name the integers and explain your answer. So if you look at this perfect squares table, you can see that these numbers are consecutive. That means 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. But these numbers are not. Okay, and you're going to use this when you solve these problems. So you're looking for the square root of 55. So you have to think about what two perfect roots are on each side. So if I had the square root of 55, I know the square root of 49 is lower, and the square root of 64 is higher. Well, the square root of 49 is 7, and the square root of 64 is 8. So I know that the square root of 55 is going to be somewhere between 7 and 8. So you would say between 7 and 8. Those are two consecutive integers. And then if you actually calculated this, you would get a number between 7 and 8. 7 point something is what it would be. And so when they say explain your answer, and I just would want you to kind of do your work. So the square root of 49 equals 7, the square root of 64 equals 8. That's what I want to see. So if you're doing 30, think of the perfect square below 30. So it would be the square root of 25 equals 5. This perfect root above 30 be the square root of 36, which equals 6. So then your answer would be between 5 and 6. Okay, square root of 90. So you would think of on each side. So I think of the square root of 81, that's 9. And the square root of 100, that's 10. So remember, these numbers have to be consecutive. So between 9 and 10. Okay, application problem. It says, while searching for a lost hiker, helicopter covers a square area. So we have a square area of 150. It says, what is the approximate length of each side, rounding it to the nearest mile? So they just want us to approximate. So you want to just know if it's going to be like what two squares are on either side. So I know the square root of 144 is 12, and the square root of 169 is 13. So you could say between 12 and 13 miles. The other way that we're going to start practicing is just using a calculator. And so the square root of 150 is 12, and it says to the nearest mile. Well, 12.2 would be about 12 miles if you're going to the nearest full mile. Okay, so the next 4 problems, you're using a calculator. So you just put these numbers in the calculator. The biggest thing is going to be to make sure that you're rounding correctly. So the square root of 700 is, and I like to use these little curvy lines because that's approximate, we're rounding, 26 point, and then to the 10th, a 5 makes the 4 go up to a 5. And if you did the square root of 600, we have approximately 24.5. And if you did the square root of 91.5, remember rounding to the tenths, it's 9 point, the 6 makes the 5 go up. So it's approximately 9.6. And then the square root of 550 is 23.3 5, because the 5 makes the 4 go up. Okay. You want to sew a fringe on a square tablecloth. Again, anytime we're doing a word problem, I like to sketch a little image. So I have a square tablecloth, and the fringe is just kind of like what's going to go along the outside. And the tablecloth has an area of 500 square inches. Calculate the length of each side, so they want to know the length of each side, and the length of fringe you will need to the nearest tenth of an inch, so they also want to know the total length. So to find the length of each side, you are going to not divide by 4, but you are going to square root the 500. Oops, square root 500. And the square root of 500 equals 22.36. Okay, so that means that each side is 22.36. But how many sides do I have? Well, I have 4 of them. So 22.36 times 4 gives us 89.44. So 22.36 times 4 equals 89, and we only need to go to the 10th, so 89.4 inches of fringe. Okay, so each side is the 22.36 or 22.4, and then the total would be 89.4.